Hey, you! Back away from that gate! Officer Ryan Dunn stormed through Atlanta International's Terminal B, hand already on his holster. His target, Elijah Greene, a distinguished man in his 60s dressed in an impeccable Navy suit, calmly reviewing documents at the boarding gate. "I said step back," Dunn barked, reaching for his cuffs. Elijah didn't flinch. "I wouldn't do that," he said quietly. Behind his calm exterior, a federal credentials badge sat hidden in his pocket. Have you ever been misjudged before they even knew your strength? Tell us in the comments. And if you believe in hidden power rising, hit like and subscribe. Atlanta. International Airport hummed with the controlled chaos of a Wednesday morning. Sunlight streamed through massive windows, catching dust particles dancing above hurried travelers, their rolling suitcases creating a constant undercurrent of white noise. Captain Marcus Wilson arrived at his station post precisely on time, as he had for 27 years. At 58, his salt and pepper hair and weathered face spoke of decades watching humanity pass through these terminals. His sharp eyes, behind horn-rimmed glasses, missed nothing. Not the nervous first-time flyers, not the seasoned business travelers, and certainly not the subtle microaggressions that still played out despite all the diversity training in the world. People thought airports were equalizers. Marcus knew better. These gleaming terminals with their luxury shops and overpriced coffee had seen decades of profiling, subtle and not so subtle. Marcus had patrolled these halls since the 90s, first as a junior officer learning the ropes, then as a sergeant who'd fought to change protocols that disproportionately targeted travelers of color, and now as captain of Terminal B security. He was the first black man to hold the position in the airport's history, and some folks on the force still couldn't stomach that. He knew the price that came with breaking barriers. They didn't just question your competence. They waited for you to fail, cameras ready. As he stepped through security toward his office, the younger officers nodded respectfully. Some even smiled. Marcus returned a brief nod, his mind already reviewing the day's operations roster. A major diplomat arrival, 2 VIP transfers, standard security protocols. But something felt off. The radio at his hip crackled with higher than normal chatter. The dispatches seemed tense. "Morning, Captain," said Flores, his administrative assistant, with a strained smile. "Officer Dunn's already on the floor," she added carefully. Marcus paused. Dunn. The name alone made his stomach tighten. Ryan Dunn, 34, crew cut, square jaw, third-generation police before transferring to airport security. He carried his authority, like a weapon, ready to deploy at anyone who didn't show proper deference. The kind of officer who had complaints that mysteriously disappeared, whose body cam had technical issues during contentious stops, whose reports read like creative writing exercises. Marcus checked his watch. Not even 8 a.m., and already his instincts was signaling trouble. What would you do if someone humiliated you publicly? Would you stay calm or fight back instantly? Drop your answer below, also hit like and subscribe. I need to see some ID. Now. Dunn's voice cut through the gate area's quiet morning chatter. Elijah Greene looked up calmly from his seat near the gate counter. "May I ask why?" "Because I said so," Dunn snapped, stepping closer. Someone reported suspicious behavior. Elijah remained seated, hands visible on his briefcase. "I've been sitting here reviewing documents for my meeting." Dunn's hand inched toward his cuffs. "Stand up when I'm talking to you." The gate area grew quiet. A woman pulled her child closer. Phones started to appear, recording discreetly. "Officer," Elijah said evenly, "I suggest you reconsider your tone." Dunn's face reddened. "On your feet, now. What would you do if someone humiliated you publicly? Would you stay calm or fight back instantly? Drop your answer below, also hit like and subscribe." "Last warning," Dunn growled, and then it happened. With a swift, practiced motion, he yanked Elijah from his seat and slammed him against the gate counter. The sound of metal handcuffs clicking into place echoed through the suddenly silent terminal. Several passengers gasped. Someone whispered, "He wasn't doing anything." Elijah didn't resist. His briefcase tumbled to the floor, papers spilling across the polished terminal tiles. His eyes, calm, measured, assessing, found Dunn's in the reflection of the gate's arrival screen. Dunn tightened the cuffs with unnecessary force. "That's what happens when you don't comply," he muttered, loud enough for those nearby to hear. "Is this how you treat all travelers, Officer Dunn?" Elijah asked quietly, his voice carrying in the tense silence. "Or just the black ones?" Dunn grabbed Elijah's shoulder harder. "You people need to learn respect." A woman nearby stood up. "This isn't right," she said, phone raised. "I'm recording this." "Mind your business, ma'am," Dunn snapped, but his eyes darted to the growing number of phones pointed his way. Elijah remained perfectly still, his dignity intact despite the handcuffs. "Officer, I've asked you a simple question. Please answer." "It." Dunn leaned closer. "I don't answer to you. You're being detained for suspicious activity and resisting an officer." "Resisting?" Another passenger questioned loudly. "He was just sitting there." "Everyone back off," Dunn commanded, but the circle of witnesses only grew. Elijah's eyes never left Dunn's. "Perhaps you should check my credentials before this escalates further." "You'll show me your ID when I'm good and ready," Dunn replied, reaching for Elijah's fallen briefcase. As he flipped it open, Dunn froze. Inside was a leather federal credential wallet, slightly open, revealing a gold badge and ID card. "What is this?" Dunn demanded, voice tight. Elijah straightened as much as the handcuffs allowed. "What I've been trying to tell you. I'm Federal Judge Elijah Greene, 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. I'm here for a judicial conference." "The," crowd murmured. A gate agent's eyes widened in recognition. Dunn blinked rapidly, color draining from his face. For the first time, something like fear flickered across his features. I didn't know," he stammered. "That," said Judge Greene, calmly, "is precisely the problem. If you were standing in Judge Greene's shoes, would you show mercy? Or hold the line? Comment your choice below, and if you stand for real accountability, like and subscribe now." "Officer Dunn," Elijah said, voice steady despite the restraints. "Would you please remove these handcuffs?" Dunn stood frozen, the federal credentials still in his hands. "I was responding to a report. That's not what I asked," Elijah interrupted. "The handcuffs, please." By now, at least a dozen passengers had their phones out. A nearby pilot had stopped, watching intently. The gate agent was urgently speaking into a phone. "Listen, there's been a misunderstanding," Dunn said, lowering his voice. "If you'd just shown me ID from the start." "So this is my fault?" Elijah's voice remained measured but carried across the terminal. "I was simply sitting here, reviewing case notes, and your first response was to handcuff me without cause." Dunn finally moved to unlock the cuffs, fumbling with the key. "You weren't cooperating. I asked why I was being approached. That's not resistance. That's a constitutional right." The handcuffs clicked open, and Elijah rubbed his wrists. "Would you have handcuffed a white federal judge for sitting at his gate?" Dunn said nothing, his silence damning in the crowded terminal. "Your name and badge number, please," Elijah requested, straightening his suit jacket. "Sir, I think we can handle this without—" "Your name and badge number," Elijah repeated firmly. "This isn't a negotiation, officer." "Ryan Dunn, badge 4487, he replied through gritted teeth. "Thank you, Officer Dunn. Now, I'd like to speak with your supervisor immediately." "That won't be necessary," Dunn insisted, desperation creeping into his voice. "We can resolve this." This was resolved the moment you decided to detain me without cause, Elijah stated. What happens next isn't up to you. If someone crossed a line they couldn't take back, would you call them out? Or let the world decide? Drop your answer in the comments. Hit like and subscribe to the channel if this hit you too. Captain Wilson is approaching. a voice announced from behind. Marcus strode through the gathered crowd, his uniform crisp, his presence immediately commanding respect. His eyes took in the scene. Judge Greene adjusting his suit, Dunn's pale face, the scattered contents of a briefcase, and the dozen cameras still recording. "Judge Greene," Marcus said with a respectful nod. "I'm Captain Marcus Wilson, Terminal Security. I understand there's been an incident." "That's putting it mildly, Captain," Elijah replied. "Your officer handcuffed me without cause, used excessive force, and refused to check my credentials when offered." Marcus turned to Dunn. "Is this accurate, officer?" "Sir, I received a report of suspicious activity and—" "From whom?" Marcus interrupted. Dunn hesitated. "An anonymous passenger mentioned a man acting unusually at the gate." "Define unusual," Marcus pressed. "Taking notes, watching people, seemed out of place," Dunn mumbled. Marcus surveyed the business travelers surrounding them, most with laptops and documents. "In an airport terminal full of business travelers reviewing documents?" Dunn had no response. Marcus turned back to Judge Greene. "Your Honor, on behalf of airport security, I apologize for this inexcusable treatment." "I appreciate that, Captain," Elijah said. "But this isn't just about me. I'm concerned about your officer's pattern of behavior. How many others without federal credentials have endured similar treatment?" Marcus nodded grimly. "A valid concern. Officer Dunn, surrender your badge and weapon. You're on immediate administrative leave pending investigation." Dunn's eyes widened. "Captain, you can't—" "I just did," Marcus said firmly. "This isn't the first complaint, but I'm making sure it's the last. When everyone's watching, would you keep pushing for truth or let it go? What would you do? Share your decision in the comments. Also hit like and subscribe." Marcus addressed the gathered witnesses, his voice carrying authority without needing to shout. "Ladies and gentlemen, I want to assure you that what you witnessed today does not represent our protocol or values. We take this matter extremely seriously." He turned to the nearest uniformed officers who had arrived. "Officer Chen, please escort Judge Greene to our VIP lounge where he can collect himself and make any necessary calls. Officer Rodriguez, secure all witness statements and footage." Dunn stood rigidly to the side, shield and weapon already surrendered, face locked in disbelief. "As for you, Officer Dunn," Marcus continued, "under Section 718 of Airport Security Protocols, you are hereby placed on immediate administrative leave pending a full investigation into misconduct and racial profiling." A murmur rippled through the crowd. "This is airport theater," Dunn scoffed quietly, but the microphone on a nearby passenger's phone caught it clearly. Marcus stepped closer. "No, officer. Theater is pretending to uphold the law while breaking it yourself." He turned to Rodriguez. "Please escort Officer Dunn to HR for processing. He is not to return to the terminal floor." Elijah, who had been gathering his scattered papers, straightened. "Captain Wilson, I'd like to file a formal complaint, not just with airport security, but with the Department of Transportation. This incident reflects a systemic issue that requires addressing. I'll personally ensure your complaint is properly filed and investigated," Marcus assured him. "And I'll testify to what I've witnessed in its aftermath." Dunn looked around wildly, suddenly realizing no one was stepping up to defend him. The colleagues he'd expected solidarity from were keeping professional distance. The transformation was complete, from authority figure to subject of investigation in less than 15 minutes. Would you let injustice slide if it kept the peace, or would you risk everything to call it out? Share your choice in the comments. Like and subscribe if you believe silence is never the answer. "Your flight's been delayed an hour, Judge Greene," the gate agent announced, approaching cautiously. "We've reserved the first-class lounge for you, if you'd prefer to wait there." "Thank you, but that won't be necessary," Elijah replied, adjusting his tie. "I believe I'll stay right here." Captain Wilson raised an eyebrow. You're sure, Your Honor? We can arrange privacy. This didn't happen in private, Captain, Elijah said firmly. And the solution shouldn't be hidden away either. As Officer Rodriguez led a stone-faced Dunn toward the terminal exit, several travelers broke into spontaneous applause. Elijah raised a hand, quieting them. This isn't a victory, he said clearly. It's a correction. There's a difference. A woman stepped forward from the crowd. Judge Greene, I'm Dr. Amara Okafor. I recorded the entire incident, from the moment Officer Dunn approached you. Would you like me to send you the video? Yes, please, Elijah nodded. And if you're willing, to Captain Wilson as well. Already uploading it to the cloud, she replied. I've seen this too many times. Usually there's no accountability. Marcus handed her his card. There will be this time. A man in a business suit approached. Charles Winthorpe, sir, corporate attorney. I was sitting 3 seats away. What that officer did was textbook intimidation and profiling. I'd be happy to provide a sworn statement. More passengers gathered, offering their contact information, their testimonies, their evidence. What had begun as isolated intimidation was now becoming a documented case of misconduct with a dozen witnesses. I've been flying through this airport for 20 years, an elderly white woman said, clutching her handbag. I've never once been questioned for sitting at my gate, not once. Marcus took each statement with methodical care. This matters, he assured them. Each of you is helping ensure this doesn't happen again. Elijah checked his watch. Captain Wilson, I have a conference session beginning in an hour, but I want you to know this isn't over. This was never about me being a federal judge. It's about what happens to people who don't have credentials to protect them. I understand completely, Your Honor, Marcus replied. And if I may speak frankly, I've been trying to address these issues in our department for years. What happened today, while inexcusable, might finally provide the evidence needed for structural changes. Elijah nodded. In my 30 years, on the bench, I've learned that justice doesn't always come from verdicts. Sometimes it comes from moments like this, when enough people decide that what they're witnessing isn't acceptable. Marcus lowered his voice. Between us, Judge Greene, Officer Dunn has had 6 complaints filed against him in the past year, all dismissed for insufficient evidence, all filed by travelers of color. And now, Elijah asked, now we have a federal judge, 2 attorneys, a doctor, and about 15 other witnesses with video evidence. This time, it sticks. As if on cue, Marcus's radio crackled. Captain Wilson, the Chief of Security is requesting your immediate presence, sir. Marcus smiled thinly. Tell him I'm in the field, taking witness statements for a federal civil rights violation. I'll be there. When I've completed my duty. Elijah raised an eyebrow. That might cost you, Captain. Some prices are worth paying, Marcus replied. Some silences cost more. What would you do if the whole room watched you bring someone to justice? Stay strong or show mercy? Let's talk about it also. Hit like and subscribe. Captain Wilson. A voice called from behind. Assistant Director Phillips, impeccably dressed in an airport administration suit, approached with a tight smile. A word, please. Marcus excused himself from Judge Greene and stepped aside with Phillips. The chief wants this handled quietly, Phillips murmured, eyeing the still present crowd. Judge Greene is a respected figure. We can offer a formal apology, upgraded travel for a year, the works, but we need this contained before it hits social media. Marcus studied Phillips's face. It's already on social media, and containing it is exactly the wrong approach. This is about optics. Marcus, Phillips insisted. One officer's mistake shouldn't tarnish the whole department. This isn't about optics, Marcus replied firmly. It's about a pattern of behavior that's been ignored because we prioritized containing over correcting. Not this time. Phillips lowered his voice further. The chief mentioned your promotion review is next month. The implication hung in the air between them. Marcus looked back at Judge Greene, now speaking quietly with several witnesses who were sharing their contact information. He thought of the 6 complaints that had been buried, the countless others who likely never even filed reports, knowing nothing would come of it. "Tell the chief I'm doing my job," Marcus finally said. "The one I swore an oath to do. If that costs me a promotion, I'll survive." Phillips shook his head. "He won't be happy." "Neither are the people we're supposed to protect when we fail them," Marcus answered, already turning back toward Judge Greene. "Some things matter more than keeping the chief happy. Would you show mercy to someone who never showed you respect, or would you let the consequences do the talking? Let us know in the comments also. Like and subscribe." Judge Greene checked his watch again, then made a decision. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number, placing it on speaker as Captain Wilson approached. "Department of Justice, Civil Rights Division," answered a crisp voice. "This is Judge Elijah Greene, 11th Circuit. I need to speak with Deputy Director Harrison immediately." There was a pause then. "Putting you through, Your Honor." The terminal had quieted, passengers watching this new development unfold. Captain Wilson stood nearby, expression neutral but attentive. "Elijah," came a new voice. "Shouldn't you be moderating a panel right now?" "That's been delayed, Tom," Elijah replied. "I'm currently at Atlanta International, where I was just racially profiled, handcuffed and detained without cause by an airport security officer." Silence then. "Are you all right?" "Physically, yes. But this isn't about me. I have reason to believe this is part of a pattern of misconduct that airport administration has been aware of and failed to address." Marcus's posture shifted slightly, but he remained silent. "I understand," Harrison replied. "What do you need from us?" "I'm invoking Section 14141 of the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act," Elijah said, his voice carrying in the quiet terminal. "I'm requesting that the DOJ initiate a pattern or practice investigation into potential civil rights violations within Atlanta International Security Department." Several of the officers standing nearby exchanged glances. This was no longer an internal matter or a single complaint. It was escalating to federal oversight. "Consider it done," Harrison responded. "I'll have a team assembled within the hour. Can you send me preliminary details? Several witnesses have already provided video evidence. I'll forward everything," Elijah confirmed. He glanced at Marcus. "I should note that Captain Wilson has been fully cooperative and is taking appropriate action." After ending the call, Elijah turned to face Marcus directly. "I want to be clear, Captain. This isn't about targeting your department. It's about ensuring accountability and structural change." Marcus nodded solemnly. "I understand, Your Honor. And if I'm being honest, we need this. Some problems can't be solved from the inside alone." In the distance, the distinct sound of news cameras clicking began as local media arrived, drawn by social media alerts about the incident. "It appears the story is out," Elijah noted. "Good," Marcus replied firmly. "Some stories need to be told. In the light, not buried in incident reports." The airport intercom announced boarding for Elijah's delayed flight. "That's my call," he said, gathering his belongings. "But I think we both know this is just beginning. If someone crossed the line and humiliated you, would you have forgiven them or made sure the world saw what they did? Drop your take in the comments. Also, hit like and subscribe. 3 weeks later, Captain Marcus Wilson sat at his desk, reviewing the department-wide memo one final time before sending it. Through his office window, he could see the newly installed QR codes at every security checkpoint. Know your rights as a traveler. His phone buzzed with a text from Judge Greene. Turning on CNN now. Marcus switched on the small television mounted in the corner of his office, just in time to catch the breaking news banner. Atlanta Airport announces sweeping security reforms following DOJ investigation. The camera cut to the airport's executive director at a podium. Today marks a turning point in our commitment to equal treatment for all travelers. The Department of Justice's preliminary findings have made it clear that systemic changes are not optional, but essential. Effective immediately, we are implementing mandatory body cameras for all security personnel, civilian oversight of complaint investigations, and quarterly anti-bias training. Marcus turned down the volume as his office door opened. Assistant. Director Phillips stood in the doorway, looking uncomfortable. "Congratulations on your promotion, Chief Wilson," he said stiffly, extending a folder. "The board voted unanimously this morning." Marcus accepted the folder but didn't open it. "And Officer Dunn?" Phillips cleared his throat. "Terminated. Effective today." The evidence was overwhelming once people started coming forward. 27. Similar incidents documented in the past year alone. And the others? The ones who knew and said nothing? Retraining for some. Disciplinary actions for others. Phillips hesitated. The DOJ isn't finished with their investigation. Marcus nodded. Good. Neither am I. After Phillips left, Marcus's phone rang. Judge Greene's name appeared on the caller ID. "Congratulations, Chief Wilson," Elijah said when Marcus answered. "I just heard the news." "Thank you, Your Honor, though I suspect this promotion wouldn't have happened without external pressure." "Don't sell yourself short," Elijah replied. "The department needed someone willing to break the cycle of silence. You were already that person before I entered the picture." "Maybe," Marcus conceded, "but sometimes it takes a catalyst." "Indeed. By the way, Officer Dunn's dismissal hearing made room for something important. The new federal guidelines for airport security are being named the Green Protocols. Every major airport in the country will be required to adopt them." Marcus smiled. "Justice with long arms." "The only kind that matters," Elijah agreed. "See you at next month's implementation conference. The real work is just beginning." As Marcus hung up, he looked again at the travelers passing through his terminal. For the first time in years, he felt something shift, not just policies on paper, but the weight of possibility. Change that would outlive a single incident or career. Some say forgiveness is strength. Others say it's surrender. If you were the judge today, would you forgive the antagonist or let him face justice? Fully. Tell us below. Like and subscribe too. The camera pans across Atlanta International's main terminal, where new signs prominently display, "All travelers deserve dignity and respect." Beneath it, a QR code links to complaint procedures and traveler rights information. A security officer respectfully nods to passengers as they pass through checkpoints. The atmosphere is different. Not perfect, but changing. This was never about one officer, one judge, or one incident. It was about what happens when someone finally says, "Enough," and others decide to listen. Real justice isn't about revenge. It's about transformation of systems, behaviors, and expectations. Like Judge Greene, we don't need federal credentials to demand dignity. And like Captain Wilson, sometimes doing the right thing means risking everything comfortable and familiar. Because justice doesn't begin in courtrooms or airports. It begins when we refuse to look away. If you enjoyed today's story, share and subscribe for more justice stories like this.